Previously, I thought the shadow was only watching me. I was wrong. That night, I discovered something far more terrifying. The shadow wasn't trapped inside my apartment anymore. It was following me everywhere. Every mirror, every window, every dark reflection. It was there. And no matter how fast I ran, it was always one step behind. Then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone rang. The caller ID showed my own name. I answered, and heard only one sentence. "Don't let it catch up to you." That's when I realized I didn't have 3 nights left. I had only until sunrise. It followed me. The lights came back. The hallway looked completely normal. The shadow on the ceiling was gone. But Mr. Collins still refused to look up. His hands were shaking. "You have to leave this building," he whispered. "Tonight." "What is that thing?" He closed his eyes. "It isn't a ghost. It doesn't haunt places. It haunts people." Before I could ask another question, he turned and walked away without looking back. I stood there alone, trying to convince myself none of this was real. Maybe stress was making me hallucinate. Maybe the security footage had been corrupted. Maybe. I looked down. My shadow was pointing in the wrong direction. The hallway light was behind me. But my shadow stretched toward the light, not away from it. I stepped backward. My shadow didn't. It remained perfectly still. Then, very slowly, its head turned toward me. I stumbled backward, my heart racing. When I blinked, everything was normal again. I couldn't stay in the apartment. I grabbed my car keys and drove through the empty streets of Seattle. Rain covered the windshield. The roads were almost deserted. After 20 minutes, I stopped at an all-night gas station. The bright lights made me feel safe. Inside, a young cashier smiled. "Long night?" "You could say that." I bought a coffee and tried to calm myself. As I reached for my wallet, the cashier suddenly froze. His smile disappeared. He stared past my shoulder. His face turned pale. "Sir, there is someone behind you." Every muscle in my body locked. I remembered Mr. Collins' warning. "Don't turn around immediately." I slowly looked toward the security mirror hanging above the counter. Standing directly behind me was a tall figure made entirely of darkness. It had no face, no mouth, only 2 pale white eyes. I spun around. Nothing. The store was empty. The cashier looked confused. I swear someone was there. I ran outside. My coffee hit the pavement. The paper cup rolled across the parking lot. Then it stopped. Not because of the wind. Because a black boot stepped on it. I looked up. No one. The boot was gone. But fresh footprints appeared on the wet concrete. One after another. Walking toward me. Even though no one was there. I got into my car and slammed the doors shut. My hands shook so badly that I dropped the keys twice. The engine finally started. I looked into the rearview mirror. Behind me. I turned. No one. When I looked back at the mirror, a dark face was only inches away from mine. Its white eyes never blinked. The radio exploded with static. The headlights went out. And the engine died. Outside, something knocked on the driver's window. Once. Twice. 3 times. I squeezed my eyes shut. When I opened them again, the knocking had stopped. But on the fogged glass, someone had written 4 words with a finger. "You can't outrun me." The truth begins. Ethan's heart pounded so hard it felt like it would burst through his chest. The words on the fogged window slowly faded. You can't outrun me." The car suddenly roared back to life. The headlights turned on by themselves. Everything looked normal again. Almost. Except, the rearview mirror no longer reflected Ethan. It reflected the shadow. It stood in the middle of the road, perfectly still, staring at him. Ethan slammed the accelerator. The tire screamed across the wet pavement as he sped away. He didn't stop until sunrise. The next morning, exhausted and terrified, Ethan searched the internet for the history of his apartment building. After hours of digging through old newspaper archives, he found a story from 1987. A fire had destroyed the 4th floor. 7 people died. But firefighters reported something impossible. Witnesses claimed they saw an 8th figure walking calmly through the flames. No one ever identified that person. No body was ever found. The article ended with a strange sentence from one firefighter. "It wasn't running from the fire, it was watching us." Ethan felt cold. His apartment was built exactly where apartment 407 had burned. His apartment number? 407. That evening, Ethan returned to confront Mr. Collins. The old landlord was already waiting outside. "I knew you'd come back," he said. "You know what that thing is?" Ethan demanded. Mr. Collins nodded slowly. "My father was the superintendent here in 1987. He saw it. He survived. But he was never the same again." He reached into his coat pocket and handed Ethan a worn leather journal. "Read the last page." The handwriting was shaky. "It doesn't kill immediately. First it watches. Then it copies. Finally, it replaces." Ethan's hands trembled. "What happens to the real person?" Mr. Collins looked away. "No one knows." That night, 3:13 a.m., the power failed. The apartment fell into complete darkness. A slow scraping sound echoed from the hallway. Scrape. 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 Ethan grabbed a flashlight. Its beam flickered as he stepped toward the bedroom door. The hallway was empty. Then he noticed something terrifying. Every family photograph hanging on the wall had changed. His face was gone. Only the shadow remained. The flashlight suddenly died. A whisper floated through the darkness. "Ethan." This time, it wasn't behind him. Who looked exactly like him. Same face. Same clothes. Same voice. The copy smiled. "I've been waiting for you," it said. "And now, it's finally your turn." The bedroom door slammed shut. The lights exploded. And Ethan realized he was no longer alone with a shadow. He was trapped with himself.